welcome to the Team STC channel. Today we are doing an Ecotec valve cover on a 2.2 Ecotec and an 04 Cavalier. This will be for all Ecotec motors about the same, especially 2.2s. They're definitely all identical, even the Cobalts. The only difference on the Cobalts is they have a plastic engine cover that pops right off when you pop the oil cap off. So with changing the valve cover, because I'm going to put my painted valve cover on my 04 instead of the plain one, I did pick up a new Pro gasket set. It's a good idea. They're cheap enough to do a new valve cover gasket every time you do these. You don't have to because they're rubber, so once you replace it once, you're good for a few years to take it on and off if you need to do any maintenance or anything. But I'm just going to show you how to actually take the valve cover off and reinstall it, what size tools you'll need and all that. Let's get to it. So as you can see, I put the initial actual valve cover gasket on and the spark plug gaskets. You do want to replace these. You don't want any leakage into your spark plug holes, the galleys. It's pretty easy. It just presses in. You can see there's little tabs that help you line it up. There's even one on the back side. And no, you can really go by the fact that the back side only has one cam opening and the front has the two cam spots. So that's how you know where your front is. Pretty easy, it just presses on. If you get a good one like a Pro, usually they fit in pretty good. Sometimes you can get one that's heat warped and it's stubborn, but you just keep working it, or you can use a heat gun to make it straight again if you have to, on a low setting of course. Just press it down in, fits in pretty good. I'm going to show you on a factory Cavalier we have over here. This half of the airbox is gone, we're working on something, but what you won't see on my Cav is the stock airbox. You don't have to remove the whole airbox, but you do have to remove this little hose, the PCV hose. So it's just a hose. You can just use any kind of pliers you have handy. Other than that, everything will be about identical, and I will show you on the other car. So most of the bolts on these valve covers are just 10 millimeters, as you can see. So I'm just going to use a little power tool here. You can just use hand tools, it's fine. If you do use these, do not use these to start the bolts when you put it back on. Start them by hand always. It's all aluminum head, everything's aluminum, you want to be real careful. So start them by hand always. So you can see on my car I don't have that same airbox, and I do have a breather filter instead, but you know, that's just a simple flathead to take that off. So we'll go ahead and take that off, because I'm going to transfer this to the new valve cover. Or in a case of a stock valve cover, you will use pliers and just pop that little clamp off. And once you pop that little clamp off, you just pull that little PCV hose right off. This is a tight fit. There we go. We'll just pretend that's the PCV hose. So over here, we have our ignition module. You'll see there's a little clip right here. And you're going to pull this out, so you can just get a little flathead in here, and you just push it up ever so slightly and pull it away from the module, and it'll pop right off. Now if you want to come around to this side of the engine, I'll show you something else here. So over here by the fuel rail, I have a different bolt because I have a different setup, but normally there's a bolt that sticks out to about here, and the inside bolt will be a 10 millimeter. There'll be an outside nut on it that's an 11 that holds this fuel rail to that bolt. So you will have to remove that before you start, because that will be in the way. Then you're going to have to look at this ground over here. There is a ground strap on the back of the head, right back here, right where the tip of the screwdriver is, and you'll have to remove that also. You can remove it from either the valve cover side, which will be on that same bolt, or from the head. That's up to you, but I just remove it off the valve cover, it's easier. And once you move all that out of the way, which is already done on this, we can pull this off. And some of these are stubborn, especially if yours has been on for a while. So sometimes you gotta really work it. So it's just 4 10s. Everything up here is a 10. So we're gonna take those off, and that just pulls right off after. Just go kind of easy on these. It's aluminum. Common problem on these motors is these units going bad. If you ever have a random misfire issue, a lot of times it's these coil packs. But that would be for another video. Also, on a factory car, you'll have a little black bracket that comes up from the side of the valve cover and will hold this, and that's kind of in the way of removing your valve cover, and it holds it. You'll have to unbolt that from the side of the valve cover and just take it off, because it's going to be in the way. This, without the bracket, is not in the way. You don't have to worry about it. So you just yank up. Careful not to break the plastic. Line comes out, because if you can see in there, I put the lube in there so I can get it on and off the spark plugs so they're getting stuck. Otherwise, these boots like to get stuck.
They're a pain to get out of the engine once they're stuck.
So I'm going to put this to the side real quick. So next, you can see we have these bolts underneath where the ignition was. So we'll remove these, and then you have all these bolts around the edge we're going to remove. And like I said, it's fine to do these by hand. And for people that are kind of newer to working on cars, it's good to remove these by hand. Also on these bolts, they have little rubber O-rings that come with the Felpro kit. But when I redid this engine to put it in, on these bolts, I already put new O-rings. So I'm not going to replace those again. Even though they came with the kit, I'll save them for spares.
They're a bit of a pain to replace.
Yeah, you really got to yank on them, and sometimes it's not so fun. It's better to use a magnetic tray. We usually do. I just didn't grab one today. So it's pretty simple. I mean, it's just a valve cover, but you know, some people are new. It's good to have someone give you a hand, and we like to help people out. So hopefully this video will help someone out if they have to replace, whether it's a valve cover gasket, or say they want to check anything on their head, their valves, their cams. Need to do timing. Timing is not fun on these in the car, I'll tell you that. There we go, nice and loose. So it should just pop right up and off. Just move your throttle cable. Oh, I did forget something, huh? Yep. Strap.
Yep. And
that is an 11 on this car. So let me grab an 11. So I got to take this ground strap off real quick. It's an 11 on mine. There we go. Like I said, I like to use a magnet tray usually, but okay. Magnet trays are great. If you don't have one, go pick one up at your local store. They're great to have.
Or Harbor Freight, and you pick up one after any purchase. Some of the coupons come with.
So the valve covers come off pretty easy. Got a little oil. It's a good idea to have a rag, because sometimes you can make a little bit of a mess. Let's cut that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just clean off the gasket surface, because there will be some residual oil, and that's normal, so don't think it's something funky. Just get it nice and dry, get as much as you can off of it. So we know that new Felpro gasket will have a nice seal. So if you don't know anything about cars yet, this is why you're watching a how to do your valve cover video. These are your camshafts. This is your exhaust side. As you can see, your exhaust is over here, your turbo that magically comes on your car. And this is your intake side. See, this is your intake. So this is your intake cam. These are your timing. This is your timing chain with your cam sprockets. This is all brand new. We did this before we put the engine in. Did a whole new timing set on this and everything. That's why it's like the cleanest part in here. There we go. Surface is pretty good. I just get all the excess off. So I'll be right back with the new valve cover. All right, I'm back with the red valve cover we're going to put on. It probably needs a wash. It's been sitting for a while. That's fine. Let's get the new gaskets. They're all tight, pressed in, so it's as easy as it was to take off. Just move the throttle cable a little bit. Right on. The reverse is going to be basically the same. It's just putting the bolts in. Do not over tighten these. I don't remember the torque offhand, but it is all aluminum. I never tighten these too much. So usually I'll start just popping all the bolts in. Easy enough. And I always start them by hand. And once I have them all started by hand, then you can either use this very lightly, because you don't over torque them, or just do them by hand. And you can kind of tell when they're tight enough. You don't want to over torque these.
Yep, aluminum.
So I'll see you guys in a second after I get all these started. By hand, so I know that nothing is cross-threaded, everything is in straight. So I'll just tighten them up a little bit. Doesn't take much torque at all. I like to switch sides here. So it gets tightened down evenly. And I watch the outside of the gasket to make sure it's not getting pinched at all, because you don't want any oil leaks. And it's basically that easy, whether you're doing it by hand or using one of these. The only other thing left next, we're going to do the ground, so I'm going to throw that in, and I'll show you putting the ignition module back in, and that's about all there is to it. Okay, got everything strapped in. I got the ground on over here, nice and tight. You want to have your ground strap. These computers are really picky on these, so make sure you put your ground back. Don't forget to put your ground back. These cars have to have it. They're picky. Alright, all my bolts are tightened. My oil cap is back on. None of the gasket is sticking out. It's all nice and flush. We're going to go ahead and put my ignition coil back on. Just move your throttle cable over. Give it a little even push. And once you sink the bolts into here, it'll tighten up the rest of the way, so don't worry about it. You can go ahead and plug this in now or after you do the bolts. It's really not a big deal. Just clicks right back on. Now if you do still have the holder for this, it will bolt over here still. If you have it, it's really not necessary on these cars. It doesn't really do anything besides make the coating crack because of the bend that it puts in it. So if you want to just take it off and get rid of it, you can take it off and get rid of it. That's up to you. So I'm going to go ahead and start these by hand, tighten them up, put my little breather filter back on, or in your case, your PCV hose that goes right here, you'll put back on using some pliers, and that's going to be it. So I'm just going to finish this up, tighten these down. I already started these by hand. This thing doesn't really have a lot of torque, so I'm not worried about it. But I'm still, you don't go heavy. Everything's tight. Make sure you check over everything, make sure everything is good. Everything is good. Also, what I did, a little update, yesterday, I did the, wrap the downpipe on this. It goes all the way down to where the downpipe meets the exhaust. I won't wrap this because it's cast, but I will be getting a turbo blanket for the turbo in the future. But at least the downpipe is wrapped. So there you go. Got a nice red valve cover, nice new gasket. Everything's all set, good to go. It is good to start your car. Let it run up to temperature. Make sure you don't have any leaks. Check all around it. Maybe go for a little drive, then open your hood and check again for leaks. Hope this helps someone or entertains someone. So until next time, guys, this is Team STC Donnie and Kickstand.